Sure, the factory closed down a few years ago and a lot of people lost their jobs. But it seems like everywhere you turn, there are now hiring signs. There seem to be job fairs all the time. The news keeps talking about falling unemployment. Everything seems to point toward a strong economy. But even still, there are some people grumbling, complaining about the job market. What's actually happening here? Is unemployment decreasing and the economy improving? Or is it still a terrible job market? Hey there, it's Bea. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about job growth versus rising unemployment and what that means to economic cycles. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to answer the following. How do changes in the unemployment rate impact the overall health of the economy? What are some details the unemployment rate doesn't include? What additional information is needed to provide context for the unemployment rate? Plus, you should start to think about our big picture question: why are the jobs report and unemployment rate such important economic indicators? On the first Friday of every month, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics releases a jobs report. A jobs report is a detailed report of the number of jobs gained or lost in an economy over a period of time, usually a month, as well as the unemployment rate. For economists, politicians, and government officials, the hope is that these reports show job growth, or an increase in the number of available jobs in an economy. After all, job growth is generally associated with that expansion portion of an economic cycle, while rising unemployment is usually a sign of economic contraction. But why is that? Well, there's a sort of snowball effect. When businesses do well, they hire more people, so job growth. That means people with increased income, which leads to increased consumer demand. That increased demand and the increased consumer spending means that more businesses do well, and the cycle starts again. Okay, let's take a second to review what we've talked about. There are lots of businesses hiring in your town. The mayor is talking about how the local economy is doing really well. Why do you think that the mayor is making that claim? That seems pretty straightforward. Lower unemployment means a healthy economy, right? Well, it can actually be a little more complex than that. For example, if a jobs report is saying 100,000 new jobs were created in the last 3 months, that sounds pretty good. But what if 2 million people lost their jobs in the 6 months before that? That makes the 100,000 jobs created a little less impressive, right? Now, we also need to examine the size of the workforce more carefully with a new scenario. Let's say that a large number of students who hadn't been looking for jobs recently graduated college. Now, they're ready to enter the workforce and are looking for jobs. But due to fewer people retiring, they're having difficulty finding employment. The size of the workforce has increased, but the number of jobs hasn't changed, so the unemployment rate has increased. But all of this has occurred without any fundamental changes to the economy. Let's take a moment to check in. What if there are people who have been unemployed for a while and have decided that looking for a job is pointless? They choose to leave the workforce, lowering the number of workers and the unemployment rate. Would you say that the economy is improving? What is your rationale? And just like with other economic indicators, when we see statistics like jobs created and unemployment rates, we need to ask questions and think critically about those numbers. When we see job growth, we need to ask whether those jobs are likely to be permanent or just temporary. Let's say that a jobs report for November and December shows an increase in the number of jobs. Well, the reality is that some of those jobs are going to be seasonal as stores ramp up for the holiday season. But by February, those jobs aren't necessarily going to still be there. And we need to consider the types of jobs that are being created. Ideally, you want to see more jobs being created in higher paying fields like nursing, manufacturing, and technology, rather than those in retail and service sectors. Plus, we really need to look at what is happening with wages. While wages generally increase as the number of jobs increases and unemployment decreases, that isn't always the case. If an economy is adding a lot of low-paying jobs, more people may be working, but they're still finding it difficult to make ends meet. That might make economic growth more difficult. More high-paying jobs means that people find it easier to spend money, helping to increase demand in a market, which can help spur growth. It's also important to see where jobs are being created. Unfortunately, not every part of the country experiences job growth the same way. If a city or state relies heavily on manufacturing jobs, it might not experience the same level of job growth as somewhere else if the technology sector is what's driving that growth. Okay, let's take a moment for one last guiding question. Many teens in your area are getting jobs because the adults in their lives are having trouble making ends meet, even though most are working 2 jobs. The governor of your state is up for re-election and campaigning on their record as a jobs creator. Why would people in your town have a problem with the governor calling themselves a jobs creator? Time for a quick recap. Job growth and the unemployment rate are key economic indicators when trying to evaluate the overall health of an economy. These figures are reported every month in a jobs report. And generally speaking, job growth and shrinking unemployment mean that the economy is experiencing a period of expansion. But like other economic indicators, the numbers don't tell the entire story. Comparing the data to previous reports and determining what is driving unemployment rates helps us piece together a more complete picture of what is happening in the economy. And even if jobs are being created, we also need to ask questions about what types of jobs are being created, what sectors are seeing job growth, and what is happening with wages to better assess the overall condition of the economy. Tomorrow, we'll be examining inflation and how it impacts an economy. Just remember to keep investing in yourself one lesson at a time. I'll see you next time. Hey!